3. Test 1, 2, 3. We're on day 3 of the Rona party here at the biggest, deadliest Star Destroyer. Today's symptoms include congestion on a level I've never experienced before. And remember that scene when the Millennium Falcon's trying to hide and it's in the mouth of some giant monster? It feels like my mouth is the cave and there's a giant monster in the back of my throat. What we're gonna talk about today is how I was banned from talking about the Mace Windu Omicron, because it's pretty darn nuts. Sense weakness. I'll tell you this, I don't sense any weakness on this Omicron right now. This very well may be the case why they have to create a whole entire Inquisitor faction.
You know, the team that's designed to counter Shock T, apparently, in 2022.
Just to target Master Kenobi inside of Territory Wars, because this thing is beyond nuts and probably one of the best Omicron. It was so good, my guild didn't want me talking about it for the entire month and showing gameplay. But no beef, no drama. I understand that these people in the top guild are putting in tons of hours, overtime, to take their guild to victory. And they might not want to be open kimono like I am with my Grand Arena strategies. So sit down, buckle in, relax, and we're gonna talk about this Mace Windu Omicron. Maybe these Territory War Omicrons might be more useful down the road. Hit the intro, Gary. We're rolling some gameplay of the Sense Weakness Omicron. Now, we did an in-depth Mace Windu review a while back when the rework came out. And overall, as we know, it's an alright rework. It's a much better character than it was before, but it's not nearly as transformative as the original Darth Vader rework back in 2020. Rest in pepperoni. Not to the extent of General Grievous. It was just an alright rework, and usable in a couple different lineups like Star Killer, Jedi Knight Revan, Bastila, Jedi Master Luke, and of course, Jedi Master Kenobi, where we're seeing some funny little tricks of Mace Windu being the weakest member coming in for the assist to land ability blocks, and that could throw off some Bounty Hunter and Sith Eternal things out there. So needless to say, he's had his uses, but he's not nearly as bonkers, but we never really got to talk about the Omicron and Territory Wars, and this thing is nuts. Just a little reminder, in Territory Wars, at the start of each other light side ally's turn, Galactic Republic, Jedi, heck, Ugnaught, you're going to inflict on a random enemy, excluding Galactic Legends, you're going to inflict speed down for 1 turn and Shatter Point, which can't be evaded or resisted. And then when an ally damages an enemy with Shatter Point, all allies gain 5% turn. Now, on paper, it doesn't look as nuts as, say, things like Mara Jade, where you're getting 100% turn meter. It's so minor, and it's one of those things, there's several aspects of the kit, how it reads, how it performs, and how it really operates. On paper, it doesn't seem nuts, but in operation, what this does inside of a Jedi Master Kenobi team is it causes the randomness of Kenobi battles to go through the roof astronomically. As you guys know, Kenobi gets the high ground very easily, very quickly, and the main issue is once they hit high ground, everything is so unpredictable because they're just going anywhere. Unlike things like Lord Vader, for example, there's a certain mathematical process because you can predict exactly what's going to happen. Main thing is, Lord Vader just can't get around a taunting tank unless it might be Darth Vader doing his merciless massacre dance. Kenobi doesn't play by those rules. High ground comes with a different set of rules. But what Sense Weakness Omicron essentially does is it gives you, or I should say Kenobi teams, or just light side teams in general, the opportunity to feel like they're in a perpetual state of high ground. And every single time it's their turn, they can just attack almost anyone except the taunting tank that's in your way. And that's the problem. Master Luke, for example, is a taunting tank, and usually it was a counter to Master Kenobi. But the problem is, every single time a light side ally is taking a turn on the team of Kenobi and Mace Windu is constantly applying Shatter Point, and Master Luke can't do his job of taunting. When normally, for example, you do Master Luke versus Kenobi Ahsoka Tano, Commander Tano that is, normally you just have Master Luke eat up the Force Sleep from Commander Tano. However, a random person's gonna get hit with the Shatter Point when Commander Tana takes a turn. She might delete right away your Jolie Bindo if the Shatter Point lands on them. And that completely throws everything out the window in terms of creating a functioning strategy that normally requires step by step. Whereas with Kenobi now and Mace Windu, there's so much randomness involved that to a level that just didn't exist before. We've had territory wars where top guilds, again, we play top guilds. I'm in like in a top 3 guild in the game. And Mace Windu was stopping full clears. The traditional counters just were not working because the randomness involved, the sense weakness, and Shatterpoint, because it acts as a forced mark. For me, for example, the first time I went up against it, we used Lord Vader. That's problem number 1. You probably don't want to use Lord Vader. We have Lord Vader winning and Lord Vader losing. And again, it's unpredictable. There's going to be times where they could have easily beat the Lord Vader team, but the AI, still plays a little bit wrong on defense. That's, of course, they don't want to make it perfect, or else it'd be really hard to win. But Lord Vader had his struggle. It got lucky. If Maul didn't get killed off, you'd be fine. But if Maul got targeted constantly by Shatterpoint and the high ground on top of it, you'd be running into a problem. Master Luke seemed to not work. It's so simple, but it really throws away a lot of the traditional sense counters that we've had for Master Kenobi and Squad Arena before Territories got this Omicron on sense weakness in Grand Arena. So needless to say, if you have Master Kenobi, you're gonna want to get this Omicron on. We didn't think, no one said Kenobi needs to be better. Kenobi is already miles ahead of pretty much any GL in the game. He did not need, by any stretch of imagination, a way to get better. This has come from someone who's a huge fan of Kenobi in the game. We've been asking for help for Lord Vader, not Kenobi, but nonetheless, if you have Master Kenobi, this is a must-have Omicron. The predictability of taking out Kenobi is thrown out the window. Not to say it's unbeatable, it can be beatable, but with the random Shatterpoint, every single time a light side ally's taking a turn, being able to just constantly ignore taunts every single time with the Shatterpoint, and then of course when Kenobi hits the high ground, there's like zero predictability with this, and you literally just have to roll with the punches and hope that they don't pile drive the important characters. However, what if you don't have Master Kenobi? The good thing is this Omicron has benefits even outside of Master Kenobi. It's funny, so far we haven't really talked about what the new benefits are with this Omicron. We've just been talking about the randomization of Shatterpoint constantly applying and being unresistible any single time a that allies taking a turn, but there's turn meter gain associated with it, and you're not benefiting at all with turn meter gain under Master Kenobi. He's the king of the high ground, the king of turn meter. Turn meter begins and ends with him. So you're not even getting the full potential of the Omicron with Kenobi, and this is nice because if you don't have Master Kenobi, you can use him with other teams. For example, I used them with Rey, and in a Rey team, assuming there's no Master Kenobi or other things that prevent bonus turn meter, Mace Windu can get you lots of turn meter as a result if you're constantly hitting a Shatterpoint enemy. Or again, giving you the opportunity of working around the taunt. It's such a simple Omicron, but that's why I've been wanting to show you guys this because it's so dang good. Simple is sometimes better. And it's unfortunate we don't have this type of access of Mace Windu power inside of Grand Arena, where this would be really mixing things up. And Grand Arena is just mathematically more important than Territories. I'm a little biased in this situation. So before we talk about the next part of this conversation, if you care about Territory Wars, this is going to be a very solid Omicron. I would argue top 3 Omicron that goes easily number 1 if you have Master Kenobi. And even if you don't, it's still a very solid Omicron for other things like Master Luke, Jedi Knight Revan, Rey teams, other forms of light side teams that could benefit from the turn meter or just the constant randomization of Shatterpoint giving you options to work around the enemy team. And this is going to lead us to the last part of our conversation here, and that is why he could be the reason why that the Inquisitors are coming to the game. Now, we've had a long discussion. We don't even know the full power of the Inquisitors yet. We just had the 5th brother kit reveal. We're going to be testing it out later on tomorrow. But even so, they're going to be doing reworks on these Inquisitors. We're going to be the Grand Inquisitor, but we're going to take the assumption CG's telling us that they're going to be great in Territories to counter a very specific Galactic Legend Jedi, which we're assuming is Jedi Master Kenobi, which makes sense because this guy's just running unchecked in the game. And on top of that, it being specific to Territory Wars, I can only imagine they're designing this because Mace Windu is elevating Kenobi to an even higher, nonsensical, unneeded standard of viability that they didn't have before. And that is why I'm assuming they're bringing in the Inquisitors to handle all these problems that Mace Windu brings to the table. Again, time will tell in that regard. This is something that maybe we forgot about talking about, but remember in the November 2021 State of the Galaxy, they discussed for the first time how they're taking crystals out of Squad Arena and putting it in Grand Arena. One of the most fundamental changes in the game, still controversial to this day, And that was the best course of action. But what it did essentially is put the crystal income control back in CG rather than in the player's hands. And there was a question in regards to this with Fleet Arena, and if there were plans on moving the crystals out of Fleet Arena into something else in the game. And at the time, they said the answer was no. But in the future, they were going to evaluate that situation, and seeing how, especially right now, there are so many territory Omicrons. There are more territory Omicrons than Grand Arena Omicrons, and territories is only a 4 times a month event, which is why I have such a hard time liking teams and liking characters that are Territory War exclusive, and the rewards just aren't as impactful as Grand Arena. And the fact that they're creating this whole entire team, the Inquisitors, to be a Territory War specific team where the meta is so much more limited, it makes you wonder if maybe we're going to be moving towards the direction where we're going to start caring about Territory Omicrons more. Because I feel like if Territories is at least on somewhat of a par level with Grand Arena's importance, we'd be more excited to talk about the Mace Windu Omicron, Mara Jade's Omicron, Captain Phasma. But a game that's only happened 4 times a month, the limited rewards, isn't as exciting. I can only imagine CG, they're wanting to do the same thing with the Fleet Arena crystals, and my speculation is they're going to move those crystals somewhere else at some point. And seeing now that we have a whole dedicated team, tons of Omicrons for territories, and most likely an Inquisitor team that's going to need a lot of Omicrons as speculations leading us down the path of righteousness, I can imagine we're going to be living in an era where territory Omicrons are going to be a lot more important in the future. Kind of sound like a villager from Minecraft, don't I? I just think there's some sort of big ass that we're not understanding. Territory Omicron's not being appreciated. The Inquisitors aren't being very appreciated right now. A whole entire team dedicated to Territory Wars, 7 stars, Relic 5 needed to unlock the Grand Inquisitor. Couple of Omicrons probably down the road needed for them. It's making it hard to appreciate, and I feel like there's gonna be something to make us appreciate more. Think of this, for example. We had the Interceptor Cup. And ignoring the fact that it wasn't working at first, it was bugged. It was hard to fully appreciate the ship because, well, the Fleet Arena meta was not as wide for Grand Arena, or even Territory Wars for that matter. But once they opened up the Fleet Arena meta a bit more, all of a sudden the Chimera kind of fit into this nice 6-ship meta that we need at minimum. And the Chimera is very appreciated now. So again, you see what I'm saying? Before ship changes, Interceptor's like, oh, okay, it's cool. But now they open up the meta, it's okay, that's a very important ship. Now think of this, Inquisitors, okay. Open up territories to be something more important. Oh, okay, Inquisitor's gonna be really important. So you see, you're catching my drift here, hopefully, that I feel like with these Omicrons, Mace Windu, Inquisitors, I just feel like there's gonna be something sometime down the road that's gonna make territories be like, oh, okay, I see where you're going with this now. Whereas right now, anything that involves territories is usually a bore of a chore and not the most exciting conversation. And who knows, for my Marvel Strike Force players out there, I don't know if this is the solution we want to make territories more important, but in their game mode, granted it's not a 1-to-1, but in their version of territories, it happens 3 times a week, kind of like Grand Arena. And I know that sounds horrible in terms of Galaxy Heroes, but in Marvel Strike Force, it's a bit different because unlike in our version of territories, the competitive ones at least, it literally takes the full entire 24 hours to play it because you gotta wait for the whole guild to knock down a zone, where in Marvel Strike Force, it works a little bit different, where each player has their own zone. So you can pretty much just take one player from your guild, clear out a zone from the other player's guild, and things work a little bit faster. It's almost kind of like 50 mini Grand Arenas lumped into a giant territory war. Think of that. So although this is a very stale game mode, Territory Wars has really been, for the most part, unchanged mechanic-wise, visual-wise. I just think there, at least at the minimum, is room for creative improvement on the game mode, or there definitely is just something lurking, that widening of the importance that might start making these Omicrons like Mace Windu, or this weird Inquisitor team, make a little bit more sense. But I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy. I'm a little bit un poco loco. Or maybe it's the fever just burning up my mind. But you know what? Leave that like, comment down below. I love chatting with you guys. And more importantly, gosh dang, it's great to be in the Empire today.